Let's talk a little bit about charcoal. In your generalist drawing kit, you have a few different forms of charcoal. Starting over here on the left, on the very far left, right next to your large graphite stick, is one stick of what's called compressed charcoal. And then as we move over into this pencils case, right next to the pencils case, there's this little short area, and this is where you have your piece of vine charcoal. And then these two orange pencils in the pencils area are actually two charcoal pencils. So I'm going to go ahead and pull those out. And for this exercise, having the kneaded eraser is also very handy too. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that out and set it aside. So let's take a look at these different kinds of charcoal. Let's start with the vine charcoal. As you can tell, this one actually looks kind of like a stick. It's literally a willow vine that's been turned into a piece of charcoal. And if you try to draw with it a little bit, you'll notice that it creates a really nice, soft gray tone. And if you press down a little harder, you can get a little bit more of a richer gray tone. But this is a very, very soft charcoal, and it tends to wipe away really easily. And I'll just show you real quick with my smudging stick here. You can almost wipe away all of your drawing by just smudging. So when you're drawing with a vine charcoal, please be very careful not to smudge away all your work, but it also creates very beautiful, delicate, lighter tones on your value scale. So when you smudge, you might want to do a little bit of tapping or just general smudging, or just put it down very lightly by hand and then just not even smudge at all. So let's talk about the other stick in there. This is the compressed charcoal. So this is charcoal that's been compressed very densely into a stick, and because of that compression, we can get some really rich, dark lines with it. Now this also smudges a lot more easily than graphite, but as you can see here, not nearly as much as the vine charcoal. So keep this in mind when you're working, that when you make the marks, they will stay more visible. So be very particular about how you make your marks, and you can really be a lot more, you can work into the charcoal, this compressed charcoal, a lot more. And notice too that it's on the darker end of the value scale. So we're looking at 5s and 6s, and especially 6 when you're creating your value scale. You'll want to use your compressed charcoal to get the blackest black that you can get. Now along with these two main charcoal sticks, you have two charcoal pencils, and you'll see that there are two weights to it. One is a 4B soft and the other one is a 6B extra soft. So just like with your pencils, the 4B will create a nice rich dark line, but then the 6B, because it is extra soft, you can get actually a darker line with it. And these really can work a lot like the charcoal sticks, just you can create a much finer line and get into some finer details, but they smudge away in a similar way. Now I want to point out that just having these two sticks of charcoal in your kit and these pencils for fine detail, but especially with these two sticks, is probably not going to be enough for the rest of this semester. It might be enough for this next project, but at some point you're going to want to go to the store and get either a box of more vine charcoal. Remember to get the soft or extra soft. The student store might sell them in these boxes, or they might sell them individually. And then you can also get a few more sticks of compressed charcoal as well. We're going to be using these for the rest of the semester, so it'll be handy to have a few extras around when you need them. Now when it comes to your erasing, so far you've probably used your white vinyl eraser a lot, but I want to point out that with charcoal, when you use a white vinyl eraser, it can remove charcoal pretty well, but there's a tendency for it to kind of smudge too. And you can easily just sort of smudge and smear this charcoal around. And then what you end up with is a lot of charcoal in your eraser. And then when you go back to erase, be careful, because you might actually start making marks with your eraser. So this is when the kneaded eraser comes in handy. You can kind of soften it up, squeeze it into maybe a tighter shape so you can get some fine details. And you can erase in more particular areas. And if you end up with a dark, smudgy charcoal area, what you do is just knead it right back inside again. And then you've got nice, clean eraser surface to work with. But this eraser doesn't really pick up quite as well sometimes as the kneaded erase, as the vinyl eraser, but usually if you find a really nice clean surface, you can pick it up pretty well. And the nice thing about this too is you can create some really nice fine tips and be very specific about where you're picking up charcoal. And that way you can always find a nice clean area to start all over with. So before we get started on our charcoal drawing in class, I would really like for you to take all of these bits of charcoal and just play around with them in your sketchbook, just like I have here, just to get a feel for what it's like. And I think a really good way to get a feel for how to work the charcoal is to create a basic sphere using the 6 divisions of light. And something that I want to show you is that what I'm going to start off with is just putting charcoal down in the darkest areas of the sphere. And I know there's going to be the core of the shadow right along here. And notice that I'm not actually drawing the entire sphere because charcoal has such a tendency to smudge. You want to be careful not to put down too much charcoal to begin with, and just let some of that softness of the charcoal become part of the drawing. In the same way that you've done it with graphite, remember that whatever is remaining on your smudging tool can be used as a drawing tool.